So I wanted to tell the story of my bug. A lot of people that know me have known me over the years know about my VW bug. People called it Herbie, like the bug in the Disney movies. But it's a 1963 bug. I was born in 1957, so as of today as of this year, I'm going to be 64 years old in May. But when I was 5 years old in 1962, my parents died. My father died of cancer, and then a few months later, my mother died in a car accident. And so an aunt and uncle adopted me. Another aunt and uncle adopted my two sisters. And so we had some life insurance money from our parents dying. And so my aunt was a stay-at-home mother. My uncle would come home early on Wednesdays. That was shopping day for coupons and take her to the grocery store, but she didn't have a car. They were empty nest at that point. So she needed another car to take me around. So they took some of my money and purchased this bug from Fred Luxinger Motors in San Luis Obispo in early 1963. It was manufactured in August of 62. It looks like a 1962 bug, but it's registered as a 63. And so I don't think this is the original. I've collected some of these things over the years. This might have been the original document holder, but I collected a owner's manual for it with all the old photographs, black and white photographs, and the drawings that Volkswagen used to do. I've got that for it. And it's interesting too, when you bought a car back then from the dealership from Fred Luxinger, they would give you a little Volkswagen model. So this is a little tiny plastic Volkswagen bug model that I guess that's what you get for buying the car. But anyway, my sisters had one and I had one, each purchased with our own money. And one of them kept it when they got married, and their husband had it at work at I think the Oscar Mayer plant in Iowa or Illinois in the winter, and somebody slid in the ice in the parking lot and smashed into it. It was totaled. But I've always had mine. And so it's just odd that I'm the original owner of the bug, and I've had it since I was 5 years old. And one time I made a comment to my uncle about, well, it was kind of their car, and he became extremely indignant. He said that, no, we purchased that with your money. That was always your car, and they didn't want to, abuse the life insurance money, I guess. They wanted to make sure that that was mine, and they provided for me otherwise for raising me. But anyway, that's the story of the bug. So this is my bug, 1963 bug. People argue with me about it and say that it's a 62 for a couple of reasons. I think the door handles, and then the big thing is on the front of the hood, it has a Wolfsburg crest, which you can see over here, and 62 was the last year for that, but it was made in August of 62, and so I think on the assembly line they would just use up the parts they had until they emptied them, and then they would start on the next style. So it's registered as a 63. The original license plate has 63 stamped in it, but it has the attributes of a 62. The color of the car is pearl white. In German it's Pearl Weiss. And then this had the red and white interior, so the side panels are red and white. The little map thing came unglued and fell out. The seat upholstery is not original, but it was red with white piping. And then you still get the original Bendix AM radio in here. This is one thing I did to it. I still have the original grill, but I'm an aircraft mechanic and a pilot by profession, so I put an aircraft altimeter in it at one point. It's kind of silly. It's probably pretty close to sea level where we're at right here. And the little old glove box. I never took the stock radio out. A lot of people cut the dashboards on them. But if I ever had an aftermarket stereo, I had a different glove box, a plastic glove box, and I put the stereo in here, so it was hidden out of sight. In fact, I would sit here like this and tune the radio, and so you can see where the paint's worn off on the inside of the glove box door from me resting my hand there fiddling with the stereo over the years. And it has, let's see if we can see the mileage in here. So it has 19,382, but it's flipped over 4 times. So it's got 419,000 miles on it, or it did when I quit driving it, and that probably was in about 93. When's the last time I registered this thing? So this one expired. Oh, I kept registering it, but I wasn't really driving it anymore. I think in about 1996 I quit driving it, but by then it had 419,000 miles on it. Anyway, so this is called the motor lid, and it's had a bunch of engines in it over the years. I had taken this off so that just make it harder for somebody to take it. But the original engine was a 40 horse, 1200 cc, and then at about they go about 100,000 miles, and so at 100,000 miles, my aunt and uncle had somebody replace the engine the first time with another 40 horse. Then when I was in college, I was an aircraft mechanic, and I got really into building bug engines, and so I put the third engine was a 1600 dual port, which is I think 60 horse instead of 40 horse, and then this engine is an 1835, and it's got about 120,000 miles on it. It's completely worn out. It'll still run if I fiddle around with it, but the main bearings are so worn out that I have to run 60 weight straight grade oil in it, and when I start it up you can hear the crankshaft thunking until the oil pressure comes up and then it quiets down. But to get 125,000 miles out of an 1835 is quite an accomplishment. I had it all balanced and did everything I could to it when I built it, but I've got an old 40 horse motor now that I'd like to rebuild that. They're getting hard to rebuild, hard to get parts for, but I'd like to take it back to stock at this point.